You need to know how much your lead gen clients are making because you need to know if the leads you're bringing them are actually producing an ROI. In this video, I'll show you how to fix that with simple automations. We'll be going over the 3 levels you can pull in your agency to get your clients to use your CRM so you can actually track the results, get them better results, and make them more money. So the first part of this is going to be automations. This is just one of the 3 levels that we're going to pull in this video to actually get your clients to use your CRM. And the whole purpose of automations is very simple. Their entire role is holding your clients accountable on autopilot, so you don't need to individually have your CSMs message each individual client on a daily basis trying to get them to update the CRM. What we're going to be going over is 4 different types of automations that you can implement in your agency to actually get your clients to automatically update their CRM. The whole idea of this is that we're implementing these systems to allow your clients or hold your clients accountable to actually update in the CRM so you can actually track how much money they're making from the leads you're actually bringing them in. The first automation is the most simple automation that you need to set up in your agency, guys. It will literally maybe take you 10 minutes to put together, but it's so simple and it's just no brainer. All you're doing in the first automation is sending them reminders before and after the specific appointment to actually get them to update the CRM. This is so simple. All you need to do is send them a reminder 30 minutes before the appointment, 1 hour after the appointment, and 2 hours after the appointment if they haven't completed some sort of form to actually remind them to update the CRM for that specific lead. There's so many different use cases of this. Most people watching this are probably using high level to actually track the leads. So you can do this directly in the calendar. Whenever the appointment comes in, you go ahead and book it in the high level calendar. And from there, you just send them a reminder 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after, and 2 hours after. Now, these reminders are going straight to the clients. They're not going to the lead, they're going to the clients. Very simply, this is what it will look like in action. You have first automation that triggers whenever the appointment is booked. After, you wait 30 minutes before the appointment and send the first initial reminder, which this can be SMS, it can be email, whatever you guys want. Then 30 minutes after the appointment, you go ahead and send a second reminder that's like, hey, you still haven't updated the CRM. And then 2 hours later, you basically check if they have updated the CRM. And if you still haven't updated the CRM, you go ahead and send reminders. Now, when I say send reminders, this can be anything. It can be an SMS, it can be an email, it can be a voice note, whatever else it may be. Just have something that basically encourages your client to actually add the CRM and update the CRM so you can actually track the results better. It's just one of the 3 pillars that we're going to be putting in this video to actually hold your clients accountable. So make sure you watch until the end because all of these are going to link together in a very, very nice way. Now, the second part of this automation is just the form submission. I've seen a lot of different agencies do this in a lot of different ways. You can, for example, have a form in some of these messages where after the appointment, they go ahead and actually submit it. You can just have them go straight to the CRM within high level and just update the lead manually and basically check if the lead has been updated or not. There are different ways to do this, but the whole idea is that after the appointment and before the appointment, you go ahead and send them SMS reminders and make sure that if they have updated the CRM, you're not spamming them with the reminders 2 hours after. Make sure that after this first reminder, which everyone should get the 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after reminder, but the second one and the third one, however aggressive you want to be with it, they don't go out to everyone because you don't want to know your clients. Only get into other CRM if they actually need to. So that's the first automation, guys. And I'll be very clear, like this is not revolutionary stuff. This is very, very simple and basic automations that you can literally implement within your pipelines today to actually make it easier for you to track your clients' results on a consistent basis. So you can see if these guys are actually making money or not. From there, obviously assess the performance, do different things based on that data to actually get them better results. If they're not getting results, or produce some insane case studies. The second automation we'll be looking at is a bit less popular. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but we implemented in some of our partners agencies. And by the way, guys, all these automations we've implemented in real agencies that are using this today to actually make sure that they can track their results on a consistent basis. And the second automation is basically dealing with leads that have not been updated over X amount of days. Now, I always recommend splitting this up into different groups, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But the whole idea of this automation is that we're basically finding leads that have not been updated over a certain period of time, and then for each individual lead, sending the client some sort of internal notification to actually remind them to update the lead. This can be an SMS, this can be an email, this can be an internal notification, it can be a Slack message. Like, doesn't matter, just some sort of reminder notification to actually update that lead. Now, when I was doing this, I always recommend breaking it down into different stages. But before we get into that, let's talk about what this actually looks like in action. Very simple. Whenever there's some sort of pipeline stage update, you basically want to set a reminder or some sort of trigger that waits for 7 days. And then from there, check if after 7 days or after a period of time, they are still in the same stage. Now, this is important. So for example, let's say I have a lead and I'm using a CRM and I went ahead and actually update that lead to follow up one of the stages in the CRM. And after 7 days, they're still in that follow up one stage. That means In most cases, I have not updated the CRM and I need a reminder to actually update later the relevant stage. Now, we're not just checking if they're still in the same stage, we're also checking if the lead has not been updated in 7 days. This is because sometimes with individual records, maybe they send a message, maybe they go ahead and update a contact, they need to call them back later, wherever else it may be. So I would recommend adding an additional step here, which you don't have to because it's a bit more complicated, but I would personally recommend doing this is kind of what we set up in different agencies that sends just another check to see if it has been updated or not. And then from that, at the very end, you go ahead and send a reminder. Now, what I was talking about earlier in terms of splitting this up into different stages, I recommend having dynamic messages and dynamic wait times for leads that are in different stages. So what does it actually look like in action? I've got follow-up stage example here, and I've got a call schedule stage example here. For the pipeline stage or for the follow-up stage, for example, rather than waiting 7 days, I might only wait 3 days because they don't have to wait 14 days or 7 days to have a reminder to actually follow up. They should be doing this on a daily basis. Whereas something like a call scheduled, maybe the call scheduled in the future. So rather than waiting 3 days, I'm going to go ahead and wait 4 days. And the important thing you can do here, if we're breaking down by individual pipelines, I would recommend doing or individual pipeline stages. I would also make this dynamics reminder. For example, rather than saying a generic message saying, hey, you haven't updated this contact in the past 7 days, I would be like, hey, this lead has been in a follow-up stage for 3 days. You should have followed up with him yesterday. Go ahead and follow up with him and update the stage. Or for call schedule, I can say, hey, this client has been on a call schedule day for 14 days. At this point, you should have an appointment XYZ. Go ahead and update it with the code and next steps. Guys, these are not revolutionary automations. Like they're super, super simple to set up and you can literally set this up today. And the whole idea of this is just getting inspiration of different ways you can basically enforce your clients to use a CRM on autopilot so you can actually hold them accountable so you don't have to do extra work and actually track the results so you can see how much money they're making from the leads that actually bring you on. This is one of the super high leverage things that you can actually do because you need to actually track your clients' results, guys. I mean, if you're watching this, you already know, so I don't want to ramble too much on about this, but it's one of the highest leverage you can pulls because if they're not making money, you need to know. If they are making money, you need to know. One of the things that works both ways and it's super, super important to actually get your clients to update the CRM. And again, in a second, I'm going to be showing you different levels you can pull apart from automations that actually sets up. The third automation is very simply, this is basically a weekly report, and I've included an example of what this could look like over here on the right-hand side. But all this is some sort of weekly report, which is outside of the actual metric data, for example, like ad data, which you might already be doing, that just shows them a report of their CRM. Now, the reason we have included this for a couple of different people is because it gives them a really, really good idea of the pipeline opportunity they actually have in their CRM. And once they usually have an idea of that, they're much more motivated to actually follow up with their leads, update their CRM, all that good stuff over here. So this is an example of a report what it could look like. You're showing the pipeline value, you're showing the usage, so how much they've actually used, the different breakdown of the different stages, so on and so forth. And the idea for this is just very simply just adding the initial touch point throughout the week to actually hold them accountable to actually update in the CRM. So for example, over here, if I'm a lead, I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Listen, I've got 22 qualified leads I haven't followed up with. Let me go actually follow up with them. And that's kind of the role of CSM as well to kind of hold them accountable to actually checking this report and actually doing something about this report. Super, super simple automation that is super high leverage. And what I recommend structuring this is very simple. Probably have a sheet or some sort of list of all your different clients, whether it's on a software, whether it's on a Google Sheet, whether it's me, it doesn't matter. From there, you go ahead and get that CRM data for that client. So for example, get the pipeline stages, do some sort of scrape within high level. And then from there, go ahead and generate a mini report. This is not anything complicated, guys. Don't stress too much about this. You can even use the AI to generate a report for you if you want. And then you go ahead and send that to the client. Or if you want to be a bit more wary, you can send it directly to the CSM. And then the CSM could go ahead and actually share with the client. This is nothing revolutionary. All we're doing here is basically add another touch point a week to actually remind the client to update the CRM. This is a very simple example of what this could look like. You can also do this on a PowerPoint, just some sort of way that on a weekly basis will basically send the client like a summary breakdown of what their CRM looks like right now and the benefits they could potentially get from updating it. All we're doing here is just reinforce the behavior of actually updating a CRM. The fourth and final automation that we've set up in real agencies, four automations here, but the reality is there's so many different off automations you can set from here. These are basically the four most common ones that we go to implement when clients are actually using a CRM. Because just for context, our offer is our done for you system that we implement in agencies. And a big part of that is tracking the sales that the clients are getting. So we can actually track how much money they're making. And then from there, we can analyze the results on a weekly basis and see if each client's performing well or not. So the CSMs know what to focus on. And a big part of that is the clients using a CRM to actually track their sales. So if we didn't have automations like this, we wouldn't have the ability for their clients to actually use a CRM on a consistent basis, which is why these automations we implement in real agencies that actually work to actually get your clients to update their CRMs. The fourth automation is simple but super, super powerful. I mean, all you're basically doing here is before any sort of strategy call, you're basically adding another touch point to remind the client to update your CRM. The reason we implemented it specifically is because what we saw in a couple of different other partners agencies is that every single time these strategy calls came about, It was obviously a chance for the CSM to make sure they were updating the CRM, but then 10 minutes of the actual call was spent updating the CRM, going through each individual contact, asking, hey, by the way, what happened in this contact? Or, updating the values, whatever else it may be. And that's just a waste of time. Like, your CSM shouldn't be doing that. Now, don't get me wrong, they should be doing that in some examples to actually obviously hold clients accountable, but not on a consistent basis. That's not their job. So what we basically did here is very simple. Before strategy calls, you go ahead and send a reminder message that can look something like this to actually remind the client to update the CRM before the call. And that's just the expectation going forward. And all set this up, the automation is super simple. Whenever the client books a call, you wait 30 minutes before the call. You should have all reminders going on anyways. And then 30 minutes before the call, you send a client message like this to update the CRM. So they have an additional touch point a week, an additional reinforcement, so they can actually update the CRM. So the CSMs have to waste time on actual strategy goals going over that. So those are 4 simple automations that you can set up in your agency to actually get your clients to use the CRM. The whole point of the first level, which is one of the 3 levels we're going to pull in this video, is to have automations automatically hold clients accountable. So your CSMs don't have to waste time every single week doing it. And if you do want to do this manually, you can. It's super, super simple. Although it just takes a lot of time for the CSMs. And in my opinion, a bit of wasted time because these can be so easily automated. Every single automation I showed you in this video is simple. It's literally like a one flow. Like, it's the simplest thing you can ever set up in your agency, but it has a massive ROI in terms of the output and products be produced. This is what's going to allow you to automatically hold your clients accountable to actually use a CRM, so you can actually track how much money they're making. You can see whether they're doing bad. You can see whether they're doing good. You can see whether they're doing okay. And from that, you can build case studies. You can actually intervene and get them some more support. You can see the ROI to make sure they actually want to stay with you. And you can do so many different things with that, like prediction, which again is all done for you offer. But like, the whole idea of this is that you have some sort of way to hold your clients accountable automatically, so you don't have to waste the CSM's time. Now, the second level we're going to be pulling is again something that is simple but is important to kind of break down and explain. And it's very simply just expectations. Now, setting up expectations to actually update the CRM is just one of the many expectations you need to set when you're actually working with clients and trying to get them results on for a lead gen agency. There's so many different things that you need to work on, and setting expectations and for actually update the CRM, it's just one of the many different expectations you need to set throughout the onboarding process when you're actually bringing on a new client, but even throughout the whole relationship of the client. Now, this concept is super simple, but you need to, every single touch point that you have with the client, whether it's strategy calls with your CSMs, whether it's group coaching calls you may have with your clients, or even whether it's the weekly reports that you're sharing, regardless of whether the CM, the one we was talking about before, maybe just some ad reporting reports, you need to basically set the expectation that you need to update the CRM. And this is something that you should map out within your customer journey. If you don't really have this, just break down exactly what happens in the first 7 days of your clients coming on, then break down exactly what happens in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, so on and so forth, because you need to have some sort of journey map of a traditional journey that a client will take when they join your agency. And within that map, you need to basically map out the different points where you're going to be setting expectations. You can map out different points where you're going to structure an upsell. You can map out different points where they need to get a win. You can map out different points where you need to collect testimonial, whatever else it may be. What we're talking about specifically today is expectations regarding the CRM. And every single time you have some sort of interaction, you need to basically check that they're updating the CRM and actually hold them accountable to updating the CRM. The most important thing you can do here to actually make this work is very simply just connect them updating the CRM with them getting better results, which is true, guys. If they update their CRM, you will have a better idea of what results they're getting. And with that data, if you have a good team, you'll be able to do more things with that data and actually see if they're getting good results. You can maybe pass that on to different clients. You can collect testimonial. If they're getting bad results, you can actually jump in and see what the actual issue is. Maybe they're not converting leads. Maybe the leads are not qualified. Maybe the leads are too far away. But when you're setting these expectations for your clients, you need to actually tie that to them getting better results. And that creates an incentive for them to actually update it. And we go through this all the time when we're doing our programs. We talk to a bunch of different CSMs. We need to hold the CSMs accountable to give us feedback. I tell my team to do this. Just tell the CSM or whatever person you're dealing with how what you need from them will relate to their desired outcome. Our idea is to help CSMs set up systems to actually help CSMs decrease the churn rate for the agency so they can handle more clients without ruining the client experience or stressing on the team. And every single time we ask something on CSM and they haven't done it, we will say something like, hey, by the way, I don't know if you recorded that loom that we requested of you a couple of days ago. This is so that you can have a system that will make your life easier and allow you to handle XYZ clients without worrying about this XYZ. And the whole idea of that is like tying what we need from them to their desired outcome so they're much more likely to do it. And an important touch of this is, guys, don't be scared to hold your clients accountable. There's a thing called a Hawthorne effect, which is where individuals modify their behavior in response to being held accountable or observed. And this is the same thing. When you give your client some sort of task, which in this case, the task is basically just updating the CRM, your duty or your CSM's duty is to actually hold them accountable. So don't be scared to do this, guys. I've seen so many times where CSMs are too scared to actually tell the client to do something or reinforce the client that they need to do a certain thing because they're too scared of losing them. And that's just not a relationship you want to be. You need to have some sort of authority. And if your clients are not listening to what you're telling them, especially if you're repeating it over a consistent period of time, then that also brings the question of if you even want them as a client. When it's something as simple as updating CRM, the whole idea of it is to benefit them so you can get the better results. Obviously, we want to track how much money your clients are making for our own internal purposes so we can actually test testimonials, so we can upsell them. But at the root of this is just to get better results so they actually stay longer. So the incentives here are aligned. And if they're not updating the CRM, it won't give you a good idea of how you can get the best possible results. So this is super, super important. And this is not just during onboarding, but I would really emphasize this during onboarding, because if you can set the right expectations during onboarding, then that will most likely be carried out throughout the entire relationship. Now, that doesn't mean you don't need to reinforce it over time, because in most cases you will. And it also doesn't mean that you can't apply this to existing clients, because you can. Just mention that the shift is happening and then just set expectation that updating the pipeline is something that needs to be done going forward, because this is what's going to make the difference between them getting good results and actually staying with you, or them getting bad results and then leaving you. So that's the second level, guys. So far, I've shown you how you can implement 4 different automations in your agency to automatically hold your clients accountable so they actually update their CRM. And I've also gone over how you can correctly set expectations both throughout onboarding and all the different touch points that you have throughout the client life journey, so you can actually set expectations for your clients to actually update their CRM. The third part we're going to talk about is guarantees. Now, chances are if you're a lead gen agency watching this, you have some sort of guarantee. And this is one of the easiest things you can do, guys, to actually get your clients to update their CRM. If you have some sort of guarantee, first thing first, make sure it's conditional. You don't want to have a right guarantee. But for most agencies, they're really cool with this. They have some sort of conditional guarantee where the client has to do certain actions in order to unlock the guarantee. Think of it, for example, like responding to Slack messages. Think of it like, for example, spending X amount on ads. Think of it, for example, like recording X ads. Some sort of conditional guarantee that will allow you to actually track if they're doing what you need them to do. So if they do it and you obviously can't get them results, then it's not their fault anymore. All I want you to do is, to the conditional clause, just update the use and the updating of the CRM as one of the conditional guarantees that you need to include. Guys, this is so simple. This is literally just adding a bullet point to your guarantee list within your contract, whatever else it may be. But it's what's going to allow you to have the expectation from the very, very jump that this guarantee, which most people will come in for, is tied to them actually doing certain things. And them updating and actually using the CRM is one of the things that they need to do to actually make that happen. Now, in terms of actually tracking this on a long-term basis, there's a lot of different options you can do here. I think the easiest one that we like to implement is just the percentage of leads updated, which is just the updated lead divided by the total number of lead times 100. And I recommend also tracking this on a sheet on a regular basis, so you have an idea of whether that usage is going up or down. I can automate that, but at the start, I wouldn't recommend it. Just have your CSMs do it manually once a week for different clients. Maybe it'll take like half an hour for everyone, depending on how many clients they're managing. Third level is one of the simplest levels you can do alongside the other levels as well. I mean, literally, what you're actually doing here is adding a bullet point to a paragraph within your contract, and you have one of the conditional clauses of them actually unlocking their guarantee for your specific service delivery being the use and update in your CRM. And then you basically track it by the percentage of leads that are updated, and you can track down a Google Sheet over a regular basis. And for example, you could put it based on like 80% or more of the leads in your CRM need to be updated, or else you don't unlock the guarantee. So guys, those are 3 simple ways you can get your clients to actually use your CRM. These are the same levels that we pull for our clients who are 7-figure agencies doing all the way up to 300K a month, because we are very, very incentivized to get clients to use the CRM, because that's what we use to actually track their sales data, and that's what we use to actually predict churn. So a big part of that is actually making sure clients are updating the CRM on a regular basis. And what I'm showing you today is 3 levels that you can pull with 4 different automations you can set up to make your life a lot easier and get your clients to actually use your CRM so you can actually track the results. Because if you actually manage to track the results or get your clients to track the results, you will be able to get them better results, because you're going to have an idea of whether they're doing good, whether they're doing bad. And with the idea, you can obviously do certain things. So for example, if they're doing good, you can go upsell them. You can potentially grab a testimonial. You could potentially share those results across different clients and get the other clients good results. Or if they're doing bad, they're not making any money, you can go ahead and jump in. Maybe you can increase ad spend if you're taking care of ad spend. Maybe you can go ahead and give them some sort of sales training. Maybe you can go ahead and modify the ads. But you wouldn't be able to do that if you're not tracking the data. And getting your clients to actually use a CRM is the main kind of mother point of that, where you can do different things from that. So that's pretty much it, guys. If this was interesting, I'd recommend checking out this video over here, going over 2 simple systems you can set up in your agency to actually decrease your churn rate. And if you want us to jump in your agency and implement a done for you system that will literally allow you to predict and prevent churn, so you can take on more clients without ruining your client experience or stress on your team, then check out one of the links below in the description to join or apply for our done for you system that we will implement in your agency in 14 days. It's an insane offer. Make the most of it while it's still there. Also, if you want me to create other videos actually building these automations and actually breaking it down from the jump, then I can go ahead and do that. Just drop a comment below. And the only reason I didn't do it in this video is because these super simple automations you can implement within high level. But if you do want to break down, drop a comment and I'll go ahead and record it for you. This is what this all is about. That's pretty much it from me, guys. Take action, focus on the constraint, and actually get your clients better results, because like, that's what this all is about. And also, don't stop learning here. Watch these videos that YouTube's going to recommend in a second. That's it, guys. Look after yourselves. Bye bye.